So we kind of identify what addiction is, right? So addiction is a disease because it meets criteria. It's also an allergy reaction to the drugs and alcohol. But what's recovery? A lot of people say that I'm in recovery or I'm being sober, I'm abstinent from drugs and alcohol. Those are all good words and terms. I want to give you guys a better understanding of what abstinent means and what recovery actually means. Imagine if I was a drunken horse thief and I stopped drinking. Well, I would be a sober horse thief. Now, that's good, but that's not great. I mean, that's definitely a progress and a trend in the right direction, but you know what? Recovery is a lot more sophisticated than that. So abstinence is not using the drugs or alcohol, and that's good. That's going to keep you alive. Recovery is more sophisticated. Recovery is an active change in attitudes, ideas, and behaviors. Wow, that's deep. Recovery is an active change in attitudes, ideas, and behaviors. If you ate chocolate ice cream while you're getting high, you eat vanilla ice cream in recovery. Which brings us, of course, to rap music. Who's every recovering person's favorite rapper? 50 Cent. Because remember, the name means change, right? If I gave you $1 and I got back 2 quarters, what'd I get? Well, I got ripped off, but I got change as well, right? And so his name is going to bring change to the rap game, and change is very important in recovery. There used to be a saying that recovery is easy, just change everything. But that's not true. Recovery is easy, just change what doesn't work and keep what does work. Is that making sense? So it also brings us to, why do people abuse drugs and alcohol? We talked about what addiction is, but in the beginning, people use drugs and alcohol for all kinds of reasons, right? For novelty, for risk-taking behavior, due to peer pressure. There's all kinds of reasons to begin trying and using and experimenting with drugs and alcohol. The difference between a person in the experimentation phase versus the addiction phase is this. Addicts use to change how they feel. Taking a good feeling like being in a party and making it better. Taking a sad feeling like being lonely and making it less. Or if they have a constellation of feelings going on, knocking out all those feelings and making themselves numb. Which brings us, of course, to Star Trek. Every addict's favorite Star Trek character is Spock, because Spock doesn't feel. Is that making sense? So addicts use because of feelings, and recovery is change. We also talk about, in terms of addiction, whatever addiction promised you, recovery actually delivers. And for a person to change is very important. A lot of people study addiction, and that's great. But it's more important to study change than it is to study addiction. So change is a very important thing. Change requires courage and a method. You gotta have a method to stay sober. I meet lots of people. I meet hundreds of people. They sit in chairs right in front of me and they cry their eyes out. They say, I never want to use heroin ever again. I would never want to drink ever again. There's no reason to lie to me. I'm not a probation officer. I'm not a judge. So when I ask them the important question, well, how do you want to achieve your goal? And they kind of look down and they say, well, I'm going to use my willpower. But willpower is not a method, right? Going to AA, going to NA, that's a method. Going to counseling, that's a method. Starting a serious workout lifestyle, exercise, fitness lifestyle, that's a method. Going to church every Sunday, that's a method. But just sitting at home and thinking really hard that I'm not going to get high, that's not a method. That's a plan for a failure. And so when I meet with families all the time and they deal with addiction, just like dealing with cancer, you can't ignore it. It's not going to go away. I mean, there's no cancer treatment that's called the Ignore Cancer program. There's no way of treating diabetes by saying, we're going to pretend you don't have it and maybe it'll get better. Addiction doesn't get better over time. And lots of people die while their families wait to get them help. And that's not fair. And so when we talk about people that actually have the courage to confront their loved one, that's really bold. I mean, a lot of people don't want to deal with it. The moms and dads that I meet that come into my office and say, there's something wrong with my kid and they're not going to die on my watch. And I'll say, okay, let's put a plan together. Let's do an intervention. So there's this misinformation out there that a person has to be ready to get sober, ready to change. Now, I don't even know what that means, because everyone I do an intervention on doesn't want to go to rehab. That's the purpose of the intervention. So everybody that I meet at an intervention doesn't want to get sober, doesn't want to change. Is that making sense? They come into my office and our job is to make their using as miserable as possible and their being sober as easy as possible. And so how do we do that? We do that with traction points. You come into the office and the parents are going to read the letter. The letter is basically a 3-part letter. How you used to be, how drugs and alcohol changed you, what we expect you to do today. And so when we have the parents reading these letters, I usually have mom read the last one. And about 80% of the time, the person's going to say, you know what, I do have a problem, I'm going to go into rehab. But here's the sad truth. 20% of the time, the kid's gonna say, I'm not going. That's when the ultimatums come out. That's when we say, well, you can no longer live at home. You can no longer have the car. We're gonna call your boss. You can't call my boss. No, we're gonna call your boss and tell him that you're using heroin. I did an intervention on a Michigan State University cheerleader, and we brought her to the house. She came to the house, and it was kind of like we had the grandmother call and say, I'm really sick, come home. It was kind of like, shady, but we had to do that. So we get her into the room. The room is filled with all of her memorabilia. Her photographs, her trophies, all her accomplishments are all around the room. She walks into this room and she's like shocked and stunned. She can't understand what's really going on. And so we say to her, we think you're using drugs and alcohol, especially heroin. We got to get you into rehab. And she says to me, I'm not getting high at all. I go, that's fantastic news. I'm going to hand you this cup. All you got to do is pee in this cup, and when you test negative for all drugs, I'm going to shake your hand, apologize, and walk away. You will never see me again. Guess what she says? I'm not peeing in your cup. Why don't you trust me? I trust you. I don't trust your disease. So over a period of time, we begin reading the letters, and so this one doesn't go so well. She runs out of the house and runs to work. So I call up at her work. She's working at a sandwich shop. So I call the ethnic owner. I say, hi, my name is Raj Mehta. I'm a therapist at Serenity. Your employee's using heroin. We're doing an intervention. She overdosed about a week ago. Worried about her dying. So what should that man have said to me? You're right. We're going to get her help. And then, I'm kind of sensitive. What do you actually say? I don't care who you are. She's really cute. She's a great sandwich girl. No, you can't do that. So you got to hang up the phone. You got to kind of think about this like a chess player thinking 2, 3, and 4 moves ahead. Well, in the old days, we can break his windows down, put a gun to his head and say, give us back the girl, but that's not spiritual. So what we do instead is we say, you know what? I'm going to call this guy back. Do you guys know how to sing? The whole family says, yeah, we love singing in church. Fantastic. Call a sandwich guy back. Here's the deal, dude. If you don't let the girl out and fire her today, we're going to go into your sandwich shop and sing hymns all day long until she goes to rehab. He goes, are you kidding me? I go, no, I'm serious as a heart attack. Either she goes to rehab today or we're going to be singing in your sandwich shop. Hold on. Mary, you're going to rehab today. Click. So then we scoop up Mary, and all the way to Brighton Hospital, Mary's giving me the evil eye. You ruined my life. Why could you do this to me? I had a great life. I only used it once in a while. So she gets into Brighton Hospital, and she's there for 7 days, right? So 7 days in the rehab, I'm filling up my water bottle, and I look, and I see a young woman running at me. I'm thinking, this can either be really good, or this can be really, really bad. And as she's running at me, I'm trying to get her facial expression, and okay, cool. She grabs me and she hugs me and she says, you saved my life. Remember, 7 days ago, I was the devil. In 7 days sober, I saved her life. That's how interventions work. So I want to get everyone to understand is that it takes a great deal of courage to fight addiction. That's why our motto is fortune favors the bold. It's a bold move. To fight addiction is to be valiant and to be fearless. And so for the families that don't have enough courage, you can borrow some of mine. Please get involved, get some more information, get insight, begin to Google and find ways to help your loved one. If you think someone that you love and care about is abusing drugs and alcohol, the odds are really high. It's true. I've never had a mom come to me that was wrong. So I want to thank you guys for your time, and more will be revealed.